And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. It's the Sunday show. Hope everyone's doing all right. I'm your host, Gary. You, the usual Sunday host. Daniela, talked to her today. She is doing much better. Hoping to be out of the hospital in the next week to a fortnight. But she's in good spirits. Told me to tell all of you how much she appreciates you guys reaching out and all that you've done for her. And I'll save the rest for her to tell you guys. But also with me, Miss Jackie Iron Dogger.
Hello.
We'll be talking to River Morris. He's coming to us all the way from down under, and there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll do our best to mitigate that issue. River, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, thank you. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
We were just talking about, see, it's summertime here, into summertime, and it's winter down there, right?
Yep.
I think it's September here. Was it like October there, right? No, I'm kidding.
No. It's September the 5th. But it's only 5 degrees where I am.
Oh, really? 5 degrees.
5 degrees Celsius.
Oh, Celsius. Okay, that's like 75 or something, right? I don't know. I don't know what the conversion is from Celsius to Fahrenheit, but it's like 100 here, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what is it, Jackie? 50, 60?
Yeah, it's 50 here. It's 50 here.
50 Fahrenheit.
Where he is, the transfer is what, 35, 40 degrees Fahrenheit?
Oh, okay. So yes. We tried the whole Celsius and metric thing, and we said no, we're not doing it. Well, I'm not going to talk very much anymore just because we got this delay thing going on. River, I'm gonna give you the floor. Just tell us now. Tell us who you are. Just tell us who you are, and let's talk about some Yowie stuff.
Okay. Yeah, my name's River Morris down here in Australia. With our Yowie, which is very equivalent to your Bigfoot and Sasquatch. My first encounter was I was about 12 years of age. And yeah, that was something I haven't forgotten. And you know, I've had about 5 or 6 encounters, but I'm not a researcher. All right, I just go out hunting for food and what have you, you know, and these things find me. I don't go looking for them. But my first encounter was with a 12-year-old, and I was with my cousin, and we got paralleled. We were going down to the river to get water, and because we had a whole heap of people up there with the young ones hanging around, all the young kids, and then we went down to the river to get some water with the buckets, me and my cousin. And it's about, I don't know, 400-yard walk down the river. And we were down there, it was summertime, and we were down there having a swim. Now, this is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know. And it's daytime. It's, you know, and clear, you know, like it was. And we're down the river, and we're having a swim. And we thought, well, we'll get the buckets of water and take them back up. And we're walking along, and my cousin has to go to the toilet. And I said, oh, rightio. So he's going to the toilet, and I'm standing there, and I could hear this kind of a grunting. And now we don't have cows and pigs around this area, but I could hear grunting, and it's like like, you know. And I'm looking around, I'm thinking, what's that, you know? And I said to my cousin, I said, can you hear that? And he's going, yeah. And he's come back, looking through the bushes at us, between these briar bushes, was a face. Oh, you know, big head, and eyes looking at us. Well, so we started walking, and this thing started walking beside us, and we were only about 30 feet away from this thing. So we just dropped the buckets of water and ran up and told our uncles, because we had all little kids running around, 5, 6-year-olds, you know, 7-year-olds. And he said, what's there? And I said, the hairy man's there. And he said, where? And I said, just down there. And we could smell it. It smelt like rotten egg gas, you know, like you get rotten egg. And
Yep, H2S.
so he's bundled. Hey?
H2S or sulfur.
Yeah. And so my uncle's bundled all the kids into the bus because he was worried about the kids. Because, see, we were always told, don't go out at night, you know, and these things take our kids. And so we all jumped in the bus and gone. That was when I was 12. So then we sat down with my uncle and he told us all about it and what it was like when he was young and his parents and then their grandparents. So these things have been around our culture for over thousands of years, you know. And so then he's taken the kids home and he brought us two back. He brought us back to the place again to show us where it was. And when we got back there was three of them. And so we said, rightio, that'll do. We're going. So anyway, I don't know, 4 years have passed by, and that's been with me all the time, that, you know, but 4 years have passed by, and I had another encounter. That was with a mate of mine, and we were out shooting kangaroo. But what we'd do is we'd shoot a roo, we'd gut it, and throw in a tin of powell inside of it with cyanide tablets in it, and we'd drag it down the road behind the ute or behind the truck. Anyway, there was three of us on the back of the ute, and this is at night time. This is about 8:30 at night because we were trying to we're out getting foxes, you see. And we were just whistling like that, see, to call the foxes in. Anyway, the rope to the kangaroo, which we were dragging, was about 30, 40 foot behind us. And we seen this thing come out behind the gum tree and it popped itself out and looked at us. And we seen it with the headlight, with our torch, like with our lamps, our big, like, yeah. And we seen him. He'd have been about easy 7.5, 8 foot, and he was just leaning out, and he was after that kangaroo that we were dragging for the foxes. And we stopped, and my mate Dave said, "Hey, River, did you see that?" And I said, "I certainly did." And my other mate Tony says, "Where's the gun?" And I said, "Don't be going shooting that." I said, "That's the last thing you'd want to do. I mean, don't go shooting that." Because we don't know, because we didn't know what it was. We thought it was some farmer or something, or some bloke playing tricks on us or something, see? We didn't know. And then it's popped itself out behind this tree at us, and it started coming toward the kangaroo. So my mate's put his foot down, and so I just said, "Go, go, go." And this thing chased us with the roo dragging on the road. It caught the kangaroo and pulled it off the back of the rope and took off up into the bush with it. And we've just gone, wow. Because we didn't have cameras or nothing like that out there then, you know, like, right. You know, we don't take cameras out to go and shoot kangaroos to get foxes, you know, like. And so it's gone up into the bush. We stopped, and my mate Dave's gone chasing it, like to follow it. And the last he seen was that he had the kangaroo. The kangaroo would have been about 6 foot. It was a big roo, big red roo. And the last he seen, he had the kangaroo over his shoulder and was just walking off with it, you know, up into the bush. And then the other time was I was down the south coast of New South Wales, down at my uncle's place, down at a place called Mumbler Mountain. And my uncle said to me, his name is Gubbu Ted Thomas, and he's one of the higher ranked Aboriginal male men in amongst our culture. And he said, "Son," he said, "would you like to come and join me tomorrow? I've got a busload of people from overseas that want to come and look at, like, he was going to teach them, well, he was teaching them what berries to eat, how to dig for yams, and it was on a dry creek bed. And we're walking along, there would have been about 40 people, and they had an interpreter. And we're walking along, and we're up the front. and my uncle's telling the interpreter what to, what he's saying and everything, and he's interpreting it back to the people. Anyway, we're walking along, and he's walking along with his head up, sniffing, like, that's what he does. So he's sniffing the air, Anyway, we get to this dry creek bed, and it branches off like that. Anyway, he said, no, we won't go that way, we've got to go this way. Because up in there, there's all these caves. And Uncle Ted used to go up and sit with these things and yarn with them. He used to talk with them. Anyway, one particular day, well, this particular day, we were there, and he could smell them. And he said to me, he said, son, we'll go this way, because Doolagal's up in the caves up there, So, and Doolagal mean Yowie in our lingo down here in some areas.
Okay.
So off we're gone. Took us a different way. And all these people are going, ooh, what's that smell? What's that smell, And they all thought it was just a dead, a dead wallaby or a dead kangaroo or a dead fox or a pig, But we knew what it was, but we didn't want to tell them that, because it would have freaked them right out, And
Yeah.
when all these people left, I sat down with my uncle and I said, Uncle, what do you talk to them about? And he said, they speak to him about the encroachment of humans, how close the humans are getting to where they are. And when people are asking about where, like, how come we don't find any of their bones? Or, because they're up caves. And we know where they are up in the caves, but I'm not at liberty to tell anyone, and neither was my uncle. And because there's a lot of things that we were told not to say, through our culture. But after all, what I've seen, I wanted to bring it out for awareness, just like Kerry's doing, I want to let people know that they're out there. Because I've had people walk up to me, random people in the street, and ask me, what do I know about Yowies? And I said, do you really want to know? I said, have you got the time to sit down and have a yarn about it, Yeah. I've had another account. Well, the main encounter that when they walked off the pages of mythology into reality was when I was going to do breakfast radio one morning. And I had me Wanji, which is me dog, and she was in the back with me in a van. And I'm driving down, you got to come down over this low-level bridge, and this is about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was foggy. I come around the bend onto this bridge, and here's a mother, a father, and 2 juveniles standing in about knee-deep of water. And they were about 30 yards from me, and the father locked eyes. The father would have been about easy 8.5 foot, and the other would have been about 7, and the 2 juveniles were about 5 foot. And the father looked eyes on me because my headlights shined straight into their eyes, into his eyes, and he looked straight at me and I looked straight at him, and they all put their head down, and they just took off straight up over the river, up into the bush. So I gets into the radio station, and I thought, no, I can't tell the people on there about what I've seen, So after the show, I went and seen my uncle, and I told him about it. And as usual, he said, come on, we'll go and have a look. So, we went up and had a look after the show, and you could actually see where they cut a path through the briars and up through the lantana bushes. You could actually see where they'd been. And, the smell was different again. The smell was like, where you get like a wet horse or a wet dog type. It's just, different smells. And they all look different. The other Yowies that I've seen, totally different looking fellas. This one, the first one I'd seen, he was about like a dark brown. That was the one when I was 12. He was a dark brown. And the one we seen when we were getting foxes, he was like a reddy type. It's reddy type, browny type red. And then these fellas there down at the river, they were different again. They were like greyish type black. And the juveniles were like what color would you say? I mean, yeah, reddish type, so yeah.
Well, you talked about seeing it when you were 12, and I just did the math because I know when you were born. So you were 12 in 1974, and you were again when you were 16. You saw it again with your friends. They took, but you guys had cyanide tablets inside that kangaroo. Was it a concern? Did you think about that? Well, this thing's going to eat some cyanide. He's going to be dead.
Well, we don't know what happened. We don't know.
I'm just saying. I mean, did you think about that though? Did that cross your mind?
Oh yeah, but we didn't expect to see a yowie.
Sure. I'm in after. I know.
Yep, I'm losing it.
Yeah, it's
But,
hard talking to somebody on
yeah,
completely. Go ahead.
But see, we didn't know that we were going to come across a yowie. We were just putting the cyanide tablets in the kangaroo for the foxes. See?
Yeah, no, that wasn't what I meant. I just
like,
meant, was it a thought? I just meant, was it a thought after the fact? After because you saw him, he took it, and it's got the cyanide. Were you thinking after that, like, oh no, this thing may die now? You know, did that cross your mind after he took it? Is what I mean.
Yep, that's yeah. That's followed it.
Now I know here in the States. Oh, we lost him. Well, maybe he'll get back.
Yeah. That's really interesting, though, because that's what I was wondering about the cyanide in the kangaroo. Like,
yeah, that was my first thought. I was like, oh, this thing, maybe they can process cyanide. I don't know. Birds can. So some animals can handle it.
Yeah, they can handle all sorts of different poisons that we can't.
Yeah, so maybe we hear a lot of strange things about these creatures. You know, if you read and believe that the Miller document is a real document, what Dr. Miller said about them was that they heal so quickly that it almost, like cut them and they're already starting to heal up immediately. So I just wonder if they don't have that kind of, maybe they can control their metabolic rate. They can, and if they do heal that quick, maybe poison wouldn't affect them, quite this, obviously the same way we do. Maybe there are certain things that would. This was always my thought with trying to tranquilize one, is that their metabolism may just burn it up so quick it doesn't have the effect on them. So, but anyway, hopefully we'll get River back here pretty soon and we'll ask him a few more questions. I know we had talked to him before and I had heard these, and I want to get to ask him about what they look like, because he did describe the differences, and this, the same thing we see here. But I know I don't look into Yowie a whole lot. There's really not a whole lot out there. Amanda Osquatch, who we haven't seen in a while. And there's a few from Matt Niven, a few people that have YouTube channels that do Yowie stuff. The Yowie Hunters. The Yowie Hunters has probably the most incredible thermal I've ever seen. Have you seen it? You seen that, Jackie?
A very professional outfit too.
And you saw that thermal they got then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, insane. If you haven't seen it, you see these two creatures, these beings, and they're fully lit up. You can tell this is no suit. There he is. He made it back. He's just 14 hours ahead of us. He's actually in the future. It's 8:30 in the morning on Monday there. As soon as this pumps up, there he is. He made it back. Can you hear me? Nope. Gonna have to use the cell phone. Computer's not working.
Oh, I wonder if his cell phone died.
Oh, it probably did. Yeah, we tried this before earlier for about 30 minutes trying to get his laptop to work, and it wouldn't work for us. Yeah, you got to come back. You got to come back on the phone, River, if you can see me.
I think he even locked up again. Oh.
Yeah, you got to come back on the phone. I'm gonna pull him off here.
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Because it's hard, I think, for people to understand just how vast and wide the range that the territory that they cover and the different stories and where we hear them from all over the world.
Right.
Is fascinating. But what remains the same is that the descriptions, they may be a little bit different, but they're pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think they're at least definitely related.
Yeah.
Rivers, even them being that far away, and Australia is essentially an island. I guess everywhere is an island, if you want to get technical about it. But, there's no bridge to get here. So what I would want to know is, what does he see in the differences in what people describe in the United States? And then is there a difference in the way they look? I don't think there is. If there is, I think it's nominal at best.
Right, like our facial features, that kind of difference.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm not a big evolution guy. I don't really think evolution, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So, can you hear us? No. Not gonna work, brother. You got to use your cell phone. I'll let him know. He's gonna have to use his cell phone. Yeah. We'll get it going here.
We'll get there.
Hopefully we'll get there. I can get this and get him going. Let me message him right quick.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear Woo down here. She's just snoring away. Just sawing logs like crazy. Yeah, during paint class, I had someone come up to me last week, and they shared an encounter with me. And she was pretty shook because she didn't want to tell anybody, because what she saw freaked her out so much. She was driving home and it was pretty late, and on the trail she saw one, and she clearly saw it, and so she slammed on her brakes. She said she saw a Sasquatch.
I mean, where? Alaska, Oregon?
Yep, up here in Wasilla, Alaska. Okay. And it was walking on the trail, and so she slammed on her brakes, and she was watching it, and she said she never took her eyes off of it, and it just disappeared. She said, I thought I was going crazy. She said, I'm serious. I didn't even want to say anything, but I knew I could at least talk to you about it. And I tried to reassure that she's not alone, that a lot of people have actually witnessed them just dissipate like that. And she said it wasn't like it went into the trees. It disappeared.
Don't tell me that.
I'm telling you.
What? If I see that, I'm just probably going to quit. I mean, to me, I think several things can be true at once. I think maybe if this ability exists, and obviously people see what they see, you're not going to tell somebody else what they saw. But is it the same thing? Is it what we run into down here? Is it what we run into in Florida? To me, it doesn't seem to be the case. And are they disappearing, going somewhere else? Are they just vanishing and still there and you just can't see them? That would be obviously no way for us to ever know. Hard enough to get one of these creatures that apparently doesn't do that, and the ones that do, my goodness.
Exactly.
All right, he's back. It's going to take a second for his device to get connected. But what I was saying earlier is, evolution. I believe in microevolution, adaptations.
Right.
You know, even Darwin noticed that. You know, the Darwin's finches. You know, it's the same bird, two different sides of the island had different beaks because of what they ate. Okay, I can buy that. But one thing transforming into something else, there's just, to me, there's no evidence for it. There are no transitional species to prove this that I've seen, especially with human beings, because we just show up in the fossil record.
Right.
And there are no, what is it that old Lloyd Pye said? There are no human fossils in the pre-human fossil record, none, and the differences are vast. He says it's not a transition, it's a complete and total transformation. The differences, and they'll tell you, well, there's a link in there. Well, no, there's got to be 40 links to get from this to this. It's such a drastic change. So that's to me, that's evidence that we were created and put here. And you know, all these hominoid skulls we've been digging up out of the ground for the last 200 years, they're not our ancestors. That's these Sasquatch, these things that are still running around, whatever they are. Got to be their ancestors. They look the same, high set eyes, prognathic mouth, very robust bones, you know, heavy, big creatures.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if them being in Australia and the ones being here, if there are those minor differences. You know, still wild people, but what are the differences? And I kind of want to get into that with them, because I'm sure there are differences in them here.
Yeah.
So, but is it? I don't know. Is it
right?
Is it even noteworthy? Could you even really make a distinction because of the differences of them here?
Well, it's interesting because the size that he said, you know, that correlates to a lot of the similar sizing that we've heard from, where the male, female, and the youngers, you know, are in that distinct different range when people see them together.
Well, I know there are things that we hear. I hear this a lot. Well, I saw one, but it was a juvenile. And I think sometimes, you know, how do you know it's a juvenile? I've got an image. Let me find it. It's right here. It's the green faced guy that Richard Borchardt got. This guy right here. It's got a little outline on it.
Boy.
He looks old to me.
Yeah.
You can see his head, you can see his body, his face is green, but you know, we talk about that ad nauseum, and why we think that is. But he looks old, almost toothless, but he's not big. He's not huge. He may be 5-6 feet tall, because when you look at the whole picture, and it's a perfectly clear picture, it's just a little bit blurry here because it's zoomed in and we're putting it through StreamYard. But it's he's not huge, and I think he's old. So I just wonder if it's not like us. Some are big, some are smaller, you know. Maybe there are pygmy ones.
Right.
We've heard those things. You know, interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know if we'll ever truly know, you know, until someone that has the answers comes and gives them to us, or we're able to sit one down and talk to them. I'm going to Florida when I go home in 9 days. Going back down, Mark and I are going to hit the place again.
Oh.
Yeah. And we're trying to catch them moving. And we're armed with a little bit more. I'm armed with a little bit more, call it knowledge, I guess. I knew they were there. I was just looking for the wrong thing. So I'm kind of broadening what I'm going to be looking for through that big, huge lens that we've got. And yeah, we're going to be making a new film for the Impossible series down there. We talked about it, and you know, while we got it, let's go ahead and do it. I'm almost done with the Odyssey. I worked on it a lot today, changed up a few things. Got some really, really cool breakdowns in there for you guys. Going to be going through a lot of I've sectioned it out in still images and then video clips that you guys are going to get to see. But a lot of this stuff is old. And when I went to Mark and said, hey, you know, send me the better stuff that you got, he sent me 60 images, and they're all great to me. Some of them are better than others, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to sit and point out what we're seeing just to provide some context. But he couldn't find the clips because some of it's 6-7 years old. But there is one clip. Did I send it to you? The thing standing up behind him?
No.
Oh, I didn't.
Mm-mm.
I'll send it to you. That's going at the end. You guys are gonna have to wait till the end to see that one. You just fast forward to the end if you don't want to watch the rest of it. But yeah, Melanie's filming him, and it's so fast. It's like this. But when you put it in slow motion, you see it come up, you see its face, and you see the several frames, and it grimaces, and then it does this thing with its face, and then gone. But if you were there in the moment, you could see. River, you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Indeed.
All right. It's just that I'm not on the screen. That's all.
That's okay. We still have a little bit of a delay, but anyway, I'll forget all that. Let's get back to this. I wanted to ask you. You watch a lot of the Sasquatch stuff that the American people put out. What do you think are the differences between the ones in America and the ones in Australia, if there is one? Is it even noteworthy?
I don't think there's any difference, Kerry, to be honest. They're identical.
Well, they've got an Australian accent. That's the only thing. That's probably going to be the only difference. Is they're gonna grunt in Australian instead of in American.
Yeah, but you know how you mentioned then when you were saying you heard the gibberish sounds?
Yes, recently.
Yeah, well, I've heard that, and it was like that.
Now that's interesting. Now, do you think? I don't think they do. I don't think that the ones from the United States could understand the ones in Australia. I don't know if they'd speak the same language. There's no reason for them to. But to communicate, this is just what I think. I think most of their communication is gesturing. Because when you talk, you're giving yourself away. So I think maybe just grunts and and I don't think there's any complex syntax going on here with these creatures. I think this is what I think. You guys can lambaste me later, but they seem to understand us. Now I know when Linda's upset at me, she doesn't have to say a word. So I just wonder if they just know us well enough to know our notions, what we tend to do most of the time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've actually had conversations with them in the bush.
And they knew what you were saying. Did you?
Yeah, well, when I was there, because when I go out in the bush, I was taking me didgeridoo with me. And when I play that thing out there, it brings them in. And especially at night time, when I played at night time, the didgeridoo, the drone, and the sound of it brings them in. And I've sat there and had a conversation, not right in front of me. They would have been about 20 yards away, but in the bushes. And it was like that sort of, it was weird. And they kind of got into my head a little bit, in a way of like telepathy. I had to go. They were forcing me out of their area. I'll just give you an example. Of what I mean.
Oh, we're gonna get to hear some didgeridoo.
So when I'm out in the bush, when I'm out in the scrub at night, that's what I was doing, and they were forcing me out of there.
Have you heard of the throat singers?
Yes.
That reminds me of that.
Where they sing in 2 or 3 different octaves at the same time.
Well, they do, like, it almost sounds like that didgeridoo, but
yeah, it's literally splitting the vocal cords. Bottom half of the vocal cords low, top half of the vocal cords high. I couldn't do it. Of course, I couldn't. You know, I can play the radio mostly, but singing is I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. I try. I'm usually Linda's jukebox.
Yeah.
Your phone's ringing there.
Yeah, I know. It's probably the Yowies, mate.
Tell them you call them back. You busy.
Yeah, so and the other thing, Kerry. The other thing, Kerry, we have down here, we have brown jacks down here. You know what brown jacks are?
Is that a rabbit?
No, it's a small version of the yowie, mate.
Okay. I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah.
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 Like an Ewok.
My around about 4 foot tall. My sister-in-law had an encounter with a brown jack, and my brother and I seen a brown jack. We've seen 5 of them all playing around this water tank. And they were just like, it was amazing. They spotted us and they were gone. They're mischievous little fellas. They come around and they do stuff around your house, you know. They move stuff on you, you know, where you put the shovel in the corner of the backyard, and you know you put that shovel there, it'll be gone, and it'll be found in the toilet out the back, or it'll be found up a tree or something like that, you know. They're mischievous little fellas. And up in Queensland, they call Junjardin up there, and the bigger fellas are called Quinkin up there in Queensland, in Australia. But I've had a few run-ins with the little brown jacks, and the other one was with the yowies. There's a mate of mine, we went out rabbiting, and we had a big rabbit warren. It was huge, and we had ferrets, and we took the ferrets out to put them down the holes to flush the rabbits out. Anyway, this is about 5:30 in the afternoon, daylight saving, and we were sitting on the back tailgate of the ute. We let the ferrets down into the rabbit warren, and we heard this grunt. Anyway, and Steve said, did you hear that? And I said, yeah. And then we got this smell. Now, the smell was burnt plastic, like on your wire, electrical wire. And we thought, mate, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like, there's no one around. There's no houses, no nothing, you know, and no one knows where this rabbit warren is. It's on Aboriginal land. Anyway, and no one's allowed in there, see? Anyway, we heard the same old stick break, you know, like the stick crack. Anyway, we looked up, and about 40 yards away from us, same thing again, leaning out from behind a big gum tree, was this Dooligal, like this yowie, man. He was big. And then we heard 2 others, and they were triangling us, you know, like putting us in the middle. And we seen the one on the left, the one on the right, and then the smells come in. And that's when we seen the other 2. So we seen 3 in the one day, in the one spot. And because we were at their hunting ground, we were at the place where they eat. We didn't know they were there until we seen them. But that must be where they come down every afternoon to get rabbits. And here we are, we're there. Well, they weren't happy. They was not happy. They were throwing things at us, like sticks, rocks, all sorts of things. And then they just let out a growl, and that was it. That was our cue to go.
You know, they seem to be a little bit more bold down there, and maybe it's because of their interactions, with people that you know, they don't have to worry about them quite as much. Sheepdog wants to know if they hunt and eat kangaroos, and we talked about that earlier. They stole one of your kangaroos, so I'm going to go ahead and just answer that for you, Sheepdog. That yes, they do. Apparently, they do hunt and eat kangaroos. But when you're talking about these brown jacks, how do you know what's the difference in a brown jack and a young yowie?
They're shorter.
Okay.
They're shorter. They're just a shorter version.
A young yowie is what I mean, like a juvenile yowie. What's the difference?
Well, the juveniles grow taller than 4 foot. These little brown jacks only go to 4 foot. That's it. They don't grow anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, the yowies aren't born 4 foot, right? I mean, shouldn't they be running around at, smaller than that? So, I mean, are they identical to the yowies except only smaller? Are you able to discern the difference in a juvenile or a young yowie?
And the distinguishing features.
The distinguishing features.
They look more like a chimp.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. Same sort of, 2-inch, 3-inch hair. Arms are still down below the knees.
Mm.
But we're only 4 foot. They don't get up to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 foot,
I got you. Yeah. Oh, it makes sense. Yeah. Especially if they look more chimpanzee like. So do you think they're more likely to, I guess, move on all fours more than the yowie does?
Yeah, no, yeah, it varies. I mean, it depends. When we seen them, they were bipedal. But but they got the same sort of movements, but they're just shorter. Gotcha. And I don't know if you guys, if you mob up there have ever heard of the bunyip. Have you heard of the bunyip?
No.
No?
No, sir.
All right. Well, a bunyip, it's in our myth down here in Australia. Well, we seen a bunyip. It was about 10 o'clock at night coming home from the movies, and we're walking across a bridge, across the river on this bridge, and it was a moonlit night, and there was me and 3 other cousins. And they seen it with me. We heard this noise down underneath the bridge, and you could see everything. It was that moonlit. It was that bright. You could see everything. And we heard splashing, and we heard like sneezing, snorting, sneezing type sound. And we looked down, and we seen this thing, which was down, coming off the bank into the river. It would have been about 20 foot wide, 20 foot long, about the width of the car, and it had flippers and it had the head of a cow.
What?
And it had a long tail which tapered down to a point. Well, we ran home and told our uncle. He come back down with the old dolphin torch, and you could see all the slide marks going down into the water. And we seen him, and it had all coarse brown, like it was like leather, like on the back of a cow type thing, but it was kind of spiky type spine, and it was 20 foot long, about the width of a car, and it had flippers and the head of a cow. It was amazing. Because we have cows, but they don't have flippers.
Sure. That's a monster.
Yeah, and they're certainly not swimming.
Yeah. Well, are they carnivore?
And they eat fish and they eat plants. So, and a few farmers have had their cows and sheep going missing from up along the river, like the river areas.
Mm.
And they didn't know what it was. And they had the local newspaper mob out there, and they had the local television station out there, and they showed all the slide marks where they went down into the river, where this thing went down into the river. It was huge. And we ended up going on the putting the thing in the local newspaper about, and once again we bring them the awareness thing out there, that there are things out there that people don't know.
7 has one here. Says bunyip, the amphibious animal, was variously described as having a round head and elongated neck and a body resembling that of an ox, hippopotamus, or manatee. Some accounts give it a human figure. So thank you for putting that up there, 4-7. We appreciate that very much. Now I want to get back to something here that you said earlier. about the Yowie stealing kids. What do you think the purpose for that was? Are they to raise or to do something evil?
We were thinking breeding purposes.
Got you. Raise them up. Well, that sounds better to me. At least they still get to hang around, and but how terrifying for a child, to be picked up by essentially the boogeyman.
Well,
what other way?
We've had we've had a few cases of children going missing and still haven't been found in areas which is really thick, like the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. That's pretty heavy. Hot spots up around there. Well, we're on that up in the mountains. It's just full on. I mean, like, it's just so thick. And watching you and Mark Zasky with your shows and that, where they camouflage, you can only just see them. But I tell you what, mate, they are the masters of camouflage. I mean, but the ones I've seen, Kerry and Jackie, they come out on me. They come out. They come out and let them in. That's the thing.
Hey, man, look, the one I saw came out on me at 8:30 in the morning. Beautiful sunny day. So I think that's probably the only time you're really going to get a good hard look at one is when they come to you. Otherwise, they're staying away.
And I firmly believe that the ones that I've seen are the day watchers. They're the ones that are alerting the elders, as to speak, They're letting them know to say, hello, we got some people here, what are you going to do about it? So, and that's like with the rabbits. I mean, that was crazy, man. How the three of them just come out of nowhere, but you could certainly smell them, and it smelled like electrical burnt wire and the plastic on. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
My other mate, Kevin, he was driving home, and he lives up in the bush, up in the mountains, and he was driving home. He had his dog in the back, and his dog was crook. So he gets it home. He digs a hole with his backhoe. His tractor digs a hole about, 4.5 foot or something, 5 foot, he said, because his dog had died. And
right.
He went for a walk the next day, and his dog's been dug up. Something that dug the dog up. So, and he's had a lot of run-ins. I got a phone call last week from a friend of mine up in New South Wales, up on the north coast, where they've had a lot of rain. Well, sky juice we call it. And all the trees had come down over this dirt road where they walk, where they live. And she went to check out the road to see how bad the trees across the road and all this sort of thing. And she got followed home by a yowie. Yeah, it followed her home. It trailed her all the way for about 2 miles. And then next thing you know, it's at home with her. So she's still got it hanging around up there at the moment as we speak. She keeps in contact with me and lets me know what's going on, So, and I don't know if you've... yeah?
I'll tell you this. Mark and I have talked about this. We are going to go to Australia. As soon as we get the money, we want to come down there, and you are where we're coming to. We're going to come down there, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity for you to show us some places to go, or maybe take us a few places and just do a whole film.
Yeah.
A whole film with you.
Yep, that'd be great. Have you heard of Dean Harrison? He's with the Yowie Research Mob here, Australian Yowie Research.
Yeah. The Yowie Hunters, Dean, they've got the best thermal I've ever seen. Period, hands down. Yeah.
Well, I've had Dean on my radio show doing talkback from the Gold Coast, and he's been pushed. He's been pushed by a Yowie, and he was lucky to survive it. And he's a good man to have a chat with. And another person by the name of Sarah Bignell, she's with Yowie Central in Melbourne, and I'll be talking with her on Wednesday. But there's just been that many, like, I mean, people are seeing them more now because people are building now more into the bush, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and there's been more sightings now. I've even had a policeman. I've got a copper mate of mine, and he's even asked the same thing. He's got a phone call to go out to a rural area because some big man about 9 foot tall is trying to steal the chickens, the chooks. So they've rang up this copper, and I know him, and he said he went out there and he had to file a report and everything, but he didn't know whether he could or not because, you know, the men in the black suits, what are they going to say, you know?
Right. Well, usually, you know, for here, filing reports is not a big deal here. It's been made such a mockery of that no one's really taken seriously. And, you know, we're trying to change the complexion of that or do our part as much as we can anyway. But, you know, it's on all of us, especially if you've seen it. If you've seen one, had an experience, you know that's what it was. You gotta start looking to yourself as being responsible for helping and get the word out.
Yep.
But it's so taboo here too. It's people worry about their jobs, their brother's business. That it's understandable, but you know, at some point we're gonna have to get beyond what we think might be the limitation and tell people what's out there. It's got to happen.
Yeah. Well, he was worried about being ridiculed, you see. He and like you said, he was worried about his job, you know, and so but once you see one of these things, you'll never forget it. Hey, Kerry, you know yourself, you know. But
wouldn't be here right now.
But I just thought to myself, are they following me around or something, you know? Because it got to a stage I was seeing one every 3 months, you know, and it just got to where, okay, they know where I am, but I don't know where they are, and all of a sudden they just pop up, and I think, oh no, not again, you know, and it's on my head all the time, you know, like I have trouble sleeping, Kerry, you know, and like I'd wake up through the middle of the night, you know, and yeah, I just wake up in a lather of sweat, you know, and I'm thinking, God. And my partner would say, what's happening with you? And I'll go, you know what's happening. She said, you seen him again, didn't you? And I said, yeah.
It's hard to shake off. It's impossible. There is no way. If you saw it, there would be no way you would ever forget it. One, it's going to change you. It's going to change who you are, what you do. Like I always say, not just going forward, everything you've ever done. You're going to have to sit and think about, you know, what else is out there? What else is real? Ghosts and goblins and vampires and werewolves, you know, all these things you hear about there that Sasquatch has been put into the same file with as not being real. Though you can understand me. I can understand the Sasquatch more. To me, there's a lot more evidence out there for it. Even going back to the fossil record, there's evidence for them. There's way more reported sightings of Sasquatch. So maybe that's a sign that there's just more of them than there are some of these other things. I think there are probably more Sasquatch than there are Dogman. We just hear a lot more reports from Sasquatch than you do Dogman, but that could be the nature of the creature too. Maybe who in the world knows? There's just no way to know. But people do see all kinds of things, and that's what makes a sighting so subjective, especially because you can have two people see the exact same thing and describe it differently, somewhat the same. But, and again, in the moment, you have to consider your state of mind and how you're remembering what's going on. Same thing, like what happened to me. All I know is how I remember it. May not have been exactly that way. Pretty sure what I remember, I'm pretty sure that those things happened, but there could be some things in there that I just don't remember. But I know it can affect you. It's affected me, and I know how you feel about it too. Especially it used to be that when I would talk about the encounter, if I went on somebody's show, Sasquatch Chronicles or wherever, and talk about it, that night I'd have a nightmare about it, or the next night. But that's completely gone away. So yeah, no, I definitely do understand that. Jackie, you have a question or anything?
No, go ahead.
Oh. Go ahead, River.
Yep. The other thing that scared me too was I was with a mate and his wife, Billy and Annette Wilson, and we were going down fishing, and this is about 6 o'clock in the evening, and we felt this thing hit the ground, and it was a branch off a tree, and naturally you look up, don't you? When Annette looked up, she seen a yowie sitting in a gum tree in the fork of a tree about 25 feet up, sitting up there looking down at us. Well, that was it for us, mate. You ever seen a black fella turn white? Well, that's what happened. And yeah, we just split to the car and go, and he was sitting up in a tree looking at us. Yeah.
Do you think that they seem more aggressive in the evening than during the day? Have you noticed a difference?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I find them at night time. They're more. Yeah. You know, how can you put it? Physical. They like I was saying earlier, through the day, I think it's just like you got the day watchers. You know, like they. Yeah, and then at night time, that's when the elders come out to play. Yeah, like I said, I've seen them through the day and I've seen them at night, but they seem to be more active at night time. So that's what I find. So yeah, it's
I believe it's the same way here. We do see them during the day, and someone had commented, and I can't remember who it was, about a lot of the sightings, you know, being during the day, and that there seemed to be more sightings during the day. Well, it's sunny during the day, and you know, if you were to run into something in the woods at night, it's so dark, even with your light, you may hear something, but you're going to be less likely to see it. So I think it's just the fact that it's daytime, but I think they are more nocturnal. I don't know. Maybe I just feel like they don't do a whole lot, period. I think it's a lot of sitting still, watching, observing, maybe waiting, ambush, predator style, the whole conservation of energy. Because, you know, the more you move around, the more you're going to have to, to take in, right? At least it's that way for us. And then again, we don't know what these things can eat, what they can process. They may be able to process tree bark and grass. You know, who in the world knows? Do you have this question right here, along for the ride? Says, I've ever been hypnotized to try to remember more? No, I did emotional freedom techniques. That was as close as I've ever been to being hypnotized and putting myself back there. And I did remember a lot more. There were several things. I remembered the wave. I remembered pulling the mesh net down over my face that I didn't recall really. It wasn't significant enough for me to really remember until I put myself back, you know, in that situation. Thank you, Bird 777. Appreciate that very much. Oh, and shout outs to Jack Melton and Steve Wolf. Steve just had a major operation recently. So thoughts and prayers for you, Steve. We appreciate you guys very much for the PayPal donations. River, we've just about come to the end of our hour here, partner, but I want to get you back. What I need to do is talk to you off air, and let's talk about how we can get you hooked up on your computer, because I know we did that before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I know there's something you can do, but I don't think we just didn't have enough time to do it. But tell us about your radio show for anybody that's close by you that wants to listen to it.
It's called it's called Bum Nuts on Toast. You know what bum nuts are?
I'm afraid to ask.
Eggs. The eggs, chicken eggs.
All right.
Yeah, it's Bum Nuts on Toast. FlurioFM.org.au. You just stream it.
Okay.
And I'm
cool, man.
On Tuesday mornings. I'm on tomorrow morning here in Australia. Yeah, so just want to say thank you very much for having me. And I mean, there was a bit of a muck up with the technology, but I'm sure we'll sort that out.
It's fine, man.
Yeah.
We got what we got, and we're proud we did. We're so glad you came on, and you're welcome on here anytime. But just holler at me whenever. And when you talk to the girl, the lady Wednesday, and if you talk to Dean, man, have him contact me. You know how to get in touch with me.
I will. Yeah, I'll get in contact with Dean, and I'll let him know what's going on.
Cool, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all right, River. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Jackie, thank you, the lovely Jackie Iron Dogger, for joining us here on Sunday. Hopefully, Daniela, she won't be back this Wednesday, but maybe the Wednesday after. She's getting better. So, and that's a good thing. But we do have a guest this Wednesday. Miss Bettina Moss is going to be here with us. And then Friday night, Kyle Connolly is going to be with Brad and I telling his incredible encounters. So hopefully we'll get to see you guys then. Go ahead, River. What you got?
I'm just going to send you up with something to bless you Bigfooters up there, and take care out in the woods. And I'll just leave you with something, okay? This is for you people up there, from us down there, for safekeeping. All righty?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, brother. We appreciate you so much. God bless you. Jackie, thank you, dear.
Yeah,
and again, thank you all for joining us here. Hopefully we'll see you guys Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. Central. Miss Bettina Moss is going to be here with us, and should be a good show. So y'all have a good one. Thanks again. Y'all have a good night.